everyone, Cherie here. Today I'm going to be doing another layout using the beautiful Felicity Jane kit. Now I'm thinking my background paper will be this lovely minty stripe, so I'm going to use that for my background. And also in the kit was this gorgeous floral paper. Now this was just begging to be fussy cut, so I've gone ahead and cut some of those florals out. Now you can see these were right on the very edge of the paper, and that won't matter though, because I can tuck that under the side of my photo. And this one as well, there's a leaf cut off there, but that's okay too, that'll work. And I've got these other little bits and pieces to use, so they'll be good. On the striped paper, it had this lovely spotty branding strip on one end, so I've cut that off, and I'm thinking I really want to use that on my page too. I've got two photos to use. That's my daughter and her little friend. And I've already gone ahead and printed out my journaling strips as well, just to save a bit of time. So I'll get started. I'll speed the rest of the video up for you so you don't have to watch all the boring stuff. And I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so I do have a rough idea of how I want this page to look. So basically my photos, I want to go there in the center, and I'll slightly overlap those. My fussy cut flowers will go either side of the photo, and I've grabbed a doily from my stash as well to add behind there. That branding strip that I showed you earlier, I'm just going to trim that off a little and cut a fishtail in each end, and then I think I'll put those underneath the bottom edge of the photos as well. So I'll pop that into place. I like to put everything onto the page just to make sure that I'm happy with how everything's looking before I actually stick everything down. So I'm grabbing those wood shapes, they're also in the Jane kit. And in the end I decided to put that word above the photos for my title, and just to help balance things out I'm going to put that string of hearts underneath the photos. Now this little pink heart and bird, they're from the cut apart sheet, and I was going to add another little bird to the bottom right of the photo as well, but because he was yellow and I didn't have any other yellow on my page, I decided against him. I'll save him for another page. So my journaling strips will go underneath the photo, and I'm quite happy with how that's looking, so I guess I will start sticking everything down now. So I'll move everything out the way. Now that doily will go on first. That forms the base of my page. So a bit of double-sided tape on the back, and then I'll stick that down onto the center of the page. Now just to make sure it's in the right spot, I'll grab my T-square ruler, and just to make sure. A little adjustment, and that's good to go. So now I'll grab that branding strip piece, and I'll use my photos to make sure I get that into roughly the right position. Okay, so I decided to add a little bit of machine stitching to that, so I'm just going to grab my sewing machine and just run that through, just so I've got a line of stitching across the center of that branding strip. Alright, so I'll just trim those ends off. I like to pull both threads to the front of the page, and then when I do trim them I leave a little bit of length on those threads just for a little extra interest. There we go. So next my photos will go on. So I decided to just use double-sided tape on one photo and some foam tape on that second photo to pop it off the page a little bit. I'll still overlap them slightly before I stick them on, and it doesn't matter if they're not too straight. Alright, so we'll layer those together. Yep, there we go, and on they go. So you can see there, they're not completely straight, they're a little bit off kilter, and that's exactly how I want them to look. So next my flowers will go on. I've decided to use a bit of foam tape behind each of those so they've got a little bit of dimension as well. Now the straight edge that I told you about before, I'll tuck that under the edge of the photo and it'll look like there's a lovely big flower poking out from underneath there. And I've got that extra leaf too, so another little piece of foam tape under that. Now the flower that's going on the right hand side, I decided to overlap one of the leaves onto the photo, so that'll just help to create another layer there. And one more little flower bud will pop in there too. Okay, so before I decide to stick anything else onto the page, I thought I'd add a few ink splatters. So this is black in colour, and for some reason I just had so much trouble trying to get the splatters on here properly. You'll see that I'm shaking it, I'm tapping it, nothing's coming out. So what I end up doing is turning the camera off and have another go. And I do end up adding some more splatters, and I'll sit that aside to dry. So you'll see in a minute. There we go. We've got a few more splatters on there now, so I'm happy with that. Everything's dry, and so I grab my wood shapes and I'm just using a tape runner on the back of those pieces. And that seems to adhere them into place nicely. So again, using that tape runner on the back of that word, just making sure I've got enough coverage there. And then that goes above my photos. Okay, so that little bird will go on now. So I've also used a piece of foam tape behind that and the little pink heart. So they just sit off the page a little bit as well. So next my journaling strips will go on. Now I just use a little piece of thin double-sided tape on the back of each of those, and after I finished filming I actually decided to add stitching to each one of those journaling strips, and you'll see that in my close-up photos at the end of this video. So just make sure, I'm not too fussy when I stick them on. It doesn't matter if they're not all straight. They're a little bit wiggly, and that's okay. So I'm just going to add the date and then my page will be finished. So thank you so much to everyone who subscribed to my channel so far. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll be back again very soon with another project to share. Bye for now.